guiding organization.
Correct.
We have no golden path. We have no yellow brick road. We have no map. We have capitalism.
What industries do?
That's a good question.
Well, I think you could point out a few things. If you look at the reptile side of the world, I think they have a much better organization to help support the hobby of reptile keeping and to provide that guidance and governance that's in place. That's something that we really don't have on the aquatic side.
Yeah. And then, if you want to make a cell phone, there's a whole lot of shit you got to do, a whole lot of hoops. The only hoops you have here is whatever your local ordinances say about opening a business. There is nothing about there's light stuff about animal cruelty, and then you can do whatever the hell you want. There is no best practice anywhere, right?
It's the Wild
the
West.
death of us.
It's the Wild West. Well, it'll either remain the Wild West or regulation will take over where desired guidance doesn't, or something will happen and we'll get something like US ARC to really get some teeth, or we'll get a vendor or a trade organization that will start trying to get the trade going into one place. It's basically a union in a sense.
Yes.
But I mean, that's almost like the thing I said about on an old show a long time ago, on this show a long time ago, to where, like if you're in a divorce, you're either going to figure it out in court between each other, or the judge or whatever is going to figure it out for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and we have seen good examples of those kinds of things that have happened recently. A lot of folks are still talking about what happened in Hawaii. There was a lot of money that was spent. There were organizations that came together, right? Industry donated money to the Pet Action Network, what used to be PJAC. PJAC funded in an order of $500,000, right, to do an environmental impact study to show that, just like the scientists said, that collection was sustainable, but none of that mattered because you still had the regulators and the elected officials that basically said, we don't care about all the truth and the science, we're going to make it go away. So it all takes money to be able to drive. And so, we want to make sure we understand money is not bad, right? It's important that we all make money, but how it's used and how it's leveraged, it needs to be better provided for the industry.
Yeah, we need more money, right? Because the way to fight the stuff in Hawaii is with money. I mean, it is really the only way to get to the people who are still going no is a blanket advertising campaign, and just keep hammering them with people going over there and giving talks and yada yada, on and on and on. But we don't have the money for that. It's a miracle that they did what they did.
Absolutely.
And it's atrocious that every time it happens, when we know it's going to happen again, the same dog and pony show of asking for money is going to happen again. It just doesn't need to be that inefficient. Although, maybe we're just stuck. We're in the Wild West. It's capitalism. This is how everything works. So many people complain that they want Apple level of service from their aquarium products without understanding the other side of that balance, which is that no one gives a shit about you, the end user, because
Isn't this what
you're
the
not
younger
the money.
Isn't this what the younger crowd is making a lot of noise about late stage capitalism? Isn't that what we're going through here?
Yeah, but it's also nothing new, right? This is, when I first started paying attention to this stuff, maybe in like 2000, this was a whole thing then. It was, and I remember around 2010, it was all garage sellers versus brick and mortar stores. And, if you wanted to get a wholesale account from a distributor or a wholesaler, you had to give them proof of your brick and mortarness. Some places still do that. Some places don't care. So it's not new.
Oh, and I remember
I think
tons of articles about people whining about how the garage fragger was going to be the death of the industry.
Right. And they're now they're going to be the death of LFS in a different way than back then. Now it's because as a garage person, you get to stay at home until the next show, then go to your show and make your nut and then come home. You don't need to do little sales as much like they used to do in 2010, where it was like, come over to my garage and buy as much. No, now we make our money at shows because there's so many shows and we can make a ton of money. So
absolutely. And some of those garage sale folk years ago are now some of the wholesale leaders in coral today.
Right. Aquatic Collection started as a garage shop that pissed off a lot of the shops. Right. That's what they did. But they were very careful and very slow and very deliberate. They knew starting as a store would be a mistake. So like you can understand, again, this is like the nefarious thing. They're going, we want to sneak into this, so we do it right. And they're still here. No one else is. So,
right.
What else? So back to orgs. And then we'll wrap this up. It was a very nice discussion because I think you were talking about why aren't people, supporting the meta infrastructure and educational infrastructure of this hobby. It's everyone, not just the one we're talking about, which was Aperture, but it's all of them. And then we talked about a lot of cool stuff. And now we're back to, it's neat how it's all intertwined.
It is.
So I want to get back to your original point about, and then you said something about the organizations that are around us that we don't talk about so much. So I'll let you try to get us going in that direction.
Well, there are a number of trade organizations that exist that many of the hobbyists aren't familiar with. The one that comes to mind is World Pet Association, right? WPA. They're there to help promote business. They run Super Zoo. They've got other trade shows they put into play. They also provide for a number of resources that help the individual stores that are in place and other businesses that are involved, and not just in aquatics, but all things pet related. There are other shows that are business focused, Global Pet Expo, right? Very business focused, looking to develop, educating the local stores about how they can build their business. There are a lot of activities that happen in that realm. It's funded by industry, right? And then we step into the consumer side of the world. And you were talking about all the different shows that are running across the country. We have for-profit shows, we have nonprofit shows. Right? We have groups that like MASNA, that's a nonprofit group that runs MACNA as a nonprofit show that's right now trying to resurrect after all of the horrors that happened through COVID. But we also have other for-profit shows. Again, not a bad thing that you're for-profit, but it becomes problematic as the number of shows increase. It becomes more difficult for the manufacturers, the distributors, and the coral sellers, because they only have so much money to spend to spread across those environments. And if I'm not selling directly to a consumer, it becomes very difficult for me to make a decision about where I should invest my dollars to be able to talk to the consumers directly, and what are the added benefits that I'm also supporting when I do that, right? In the case of MACNA, we're supporting education. Right, that's the whole goal. Those videos that you were talking about, right? That BRS was very good about donating the time to edit and to publish, right? Those videos wouldn't have gotten out unless that BRS logo was there,
right?
So there's that piece that goes along with it. But from an organizational standpoint, there isn't a lot of cohesiveness at the hobby level from an organizational standpoint.
Well, I think maybe. There's a couple things. One, the importers and the wholesalers, which are the same thing, and the exporters, traditionally, the trade, these specific pieces of the trade, maybe the trade, but these pieces for sure have traditionally been against any kind of regulation, whether it be governmental or self-regulation. Rob and I keep joking about the Wild West, but it really is. It's, collecting animals for people's homes in faraway countries is as close to the Wild West kind of as we get nowadays. Well, maybe the drug trade is about the same. Wow. How amazing that those two things are said. Okay. So, because the wildlife trade used to be really, really bad. Mm-hmm. Now it's just, it's stupid now, but it used to be awful. Birds are regulated. Reptiles are regulated. Their hoof stock is regulated. Way more regulations than used to be for all of these. And, it may only be a matter of time before that hits aquatics. Mm-hmm. But people don't want that. They want the maneuverability that the shadows give them, which is gross, but I understand it because there's no central anything to be able to help them do it right and make there's no tide coming in to lift all the boats. At the same time, they are stopping the tide from coming in.
No, but as has been the case with the wholesalers and collectors all the time, they don't give you data where stuff's collected. I mean, they're going to say all that stuff is like proprietary information and whatnot. And there's I think a lot of benefits could come from them, talking to each other. Instead, it's like trying to get as much stuff from the ocean as they can while they can until someone says that we can't do that.